Most leaders treat AI like a tool, like Excel on steroids. But the smartest ones? They've started treating AI like a thought partner, a strategist, a teammate who never sleeps, never forgets, and doesn't need a bonus. Welcome to the Fluent Edge Podcast for advanced English speakers.
I'm Dr. Howie Jacobson, executive coach, author, and mindset strategist.
And I'm Sean Watson, your English communication coach and accent clarity specialist.
Together, we connect language and leadership so you can speak better, lead smarter, and thrive globally. So, Sean, when we began this podcast, you inundated me in a good way with AI tools. So when we were talking about things, you would send me a polished document that would have taken me 4 months to come up with. You sent me research and different ways of saying things, and you created a website in about 10 minutes, and I was blown away. You really have been my conduit into the world of AI as something more than a glorified Google, or as you had said in the introduction, a glorified Excel spreadsheet. So today, I really want to pick your brain. Again, I'm very conscious now, thanks to you, of all the weird English things we say. So I'm going to pick your brain around how AI can help us become better thinkers and better leaders. So I want to start by just asking you, how did you first encounter AI in a way that made you think this could be a game changer for you?
Well, I guess for me, the first aha moment was the ability to scale what I do. So I have to find a way. I've had to find a way. I'll be a good English teacher there. I've had present perfect. I've had to find a way as a solopreneur to scale and to still provide the same level of quality, of insight, of interesting curation of material. I guess that was my initial plunge into AI, was realizing that I could come up with ideas and personalized coaching material much faster. So I guess it was just working on my workflow in a way that was smarter and not harder.
So I'm thinking of this as sort of level one of AI mastery is to scale myself. Like you could have done all that. It just would have taken you too long to be practical. But now we've moved into at least level 2 and possibly level 3, where you're now using AI to think better, to challenge your thinking, and to learn how to use AI even better. So it's not only the AI that's getting smarter every month, every week, every year. How has your use of AI become more sophisticated?
It's kind of an exponential road to discovery because you're constantly learning better ways to prompt, for example. And that's something that I wanted to bring up today from Jeff Woods, who wrote the book, The AI-Driven Leader. And he talks about the importance of creating the right prompt and the right constraints. And that takes a while to figure out. So he talks about the idea of, first of all, the context. So if you simply say, give me a marketing plan for my new app, it's too general. But if you were to say, give me a 3-month marketing plan targeting US Gen Z people for under $5,000 a month with 2 in-house staff, that's much more specific. You have to find ways of leveraging AI to get the right results faster. You have to share the full picture, the background, the goals, the constraints, and then you have to give the AI a role. Who are you? Are you my CFO? Are you a competitor? So the first step again is context. The second step is the role. The third step is allowing the AI to interview you, which can help you to really develop your clarity and where you want to go with your idea. And the fourth part of that framework is the task. So if you use this type of framework, it usually gets you your results much faster and in a way that is much more effective.
So I'm going to say that I heard 2 additional levels of AI mastery in there. Level 1, we already talked about, was just you scaling yourself. Level 2 was asking for advice, not the way you would ask Google back in the day for information, but being specific, thinking about the constraints, thinking about the qualities you're looking for, and giving it enough information to go out and give you actually a pretty good plan. And I think that's level 2. And I think most people stop there. But what you have been doing, because you've talked about creating these custom prompts for yourself and even creating GPTs, which I'd like to get into a little bit.
Yes.
which is not just giving you advice, it's making you smarter by asking you questions that you might not have asked yourself and by challenging you in ways that you can't challenge yourself. The sentence that appears most often in Jeff Wood's book is, you can't read the label if you're inside the box. And he points out that AI can be the thing on the outside of the box that can help you see what you cannot see just for yourself.
Precisely. And I think that's one of the really profoundly amazing functions of AI. But if you use it in this way, it really helps to flesh out what it is that you want more specifically. And that was a game changer when I figured that out. The other really important thing that I often add to a prompt before I press enter, I will say, tell me that you understand what I'm saying, or confirm that you understand at least 90% of what I'm saying. And the other thing I would say is you really have to see it as part of your team, as the invisible advisor in the room.
And to tie it to a tool that we shared earlier on this podcast, voice notes, I've been using voice dictation to make my prompts, which allows me to interact with it more naturally, so that I don't feel the pressure to write the perfect prompt. I can sort of speak stream of consciousness. And and by the way, ChatGPT, I want you to remember this, and please check this out. Oh, you know what? Can you give me sources for all of the facts that you provide? And it feels much more natural. And then when I just transcribe, the AI tool itself cleans it up, removes slips of the tongue, and then it does really feel like a true partnership.
Exactly. The Boston Consulting Group recently did a study. They found that by using AI tools and introducing them into the company's culture, they were able to increase the work quality by about 40%. And in terms of speed, about 25%. And in terms of tasks completed, there was about a 12% hike.
Could you give an example of a prompt that you've created that you use over and over again, just so I can get a sense of the power of curating my prompts rather than having to recreate them every time?
So this is ESL Lesson Creator. All I have to do with each prompt is just tell the level of the lesson. So here I will say C1, it's considered advanced English. So here, hopefully it'll work. It's like the time when you want people to see your dog doing tricks and suddenly it's not working. Okay. So here, right away, it produces warm-up questions. Then I've got an interesting quote, which is great for conversation and developing confidence with speaking. Then I usually have a vocabulary list of approximately 10 new words. And then after that, I have a bit of pronunciation. So here, it has provided both simplified pronunciation and the International Phonetic Alphabet, because some people like one or the other. And then we have a reading, and this hasn't really spit out a very good example. Something has happened with the formatting, but normally this would be a 7-paragraph reading. Here, the paragraphs are weirdly short, so I'll have to go into my GPT and fix that. So I would read the article with people, and after each paragraph, I'd go over vocabulary, intonation, word stress, etc. And then sometimes for homework, people would like to focus on writing. So they would maybe do comprehension questions, a little vocabulary exercise, but I often skip through those in the live coaching, and we would go down here to more discussion questions. And then I'll often have a critical thinking question. I'll sometimes have a link to a vocabulary quiz. Sometimes we'll have an optional writing assignment. And then down here, we'll have dialogue practice with the new vocabulary. So you can kind of see that these are templates that I can very quickly create. So for example, if I have a discovery call with somebody and they say something really specific, I work in HR, but I want to transfer to a completely different type of role, and I need to know about the vocabulary and the typical phrases that we use, I can say, okay, let's try it. And I'll create something right in the discovery call that we can go through together. So this saves huge amounts of time.
This reminds me of way back in the day, I used to develop software, but I'm not a developer. I don't know how to code. So I hired a really talented developer and I gave him the instructions for what I wanted. And then a couple weeks later, he sent me a link to a prototype and it was awful. And it was exactly what I had asked for. And so he had showed me all the flaws in my thinking. And so I had to go back and say, oh, well, this is what I said, but this is what I meant. And we iterated and iterated. And it seemed like you could probably create your perfect prompt in about an hour just from not even knowing anything. Just saying, okay, I want a lesson. Oh, you know what? It would be great to have vocabulary words. So now you're probably going to go into that GPT and say, the article should be at least 500 words, full paragraphs. You don't need to include links, so that it gets a little bit better over time. And it might have worked last week, but now something has changed in the AI, and so it's not. So you're constantly dancing with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And once you've finished your prompt, once you've put everything into it that you think would be relevant and effective, you can also just ask, is there anything else that you think I can throw into this to make it even more engaging? Sometimes it'll spit out a list of several things, and maybe out of 5, maybe there's one in there that's golden that you just think, wow, why didn't I think of that earlier? But even when you create a prompt, you can always customize it for each situation.
So I can see how leaders can use this to create the prompt of an avatar who challenges them. One of the problems of being a senior leader is your ideas become the best ones in the room, whether they're any good or not. So you could even give it a little bit of a personality to kind of poke holes in your bubble of invulnerability, to make fun of you a little bit. Right. So you could use technology to help keep you human in a way.
I usually suggest, first of all, think about what type of outcomes you're looking for, rather than thinking about the tech features. But think about how it can really be effective in your business. For example, imagine using AI to depersonalize conflict. So you could simulate objections or analyze risks impartially, rather than doing it from a position of ego, right?
Yeah.
And so that's a really cool feature, and that could eliminate a lot of stress and misunderstandings and bruised egos.
Yeah, I was just taking a note for myself of a GPT that I'd like to create. I've studied nonviolent communication, which it's simple and extremely difficult to do. So if someone's yelling at me and extremely angry, what I'm supposed to do is listen only for feelings and needs. And I was thinking maybe there's one out there already, but if I create a nonviolent communication GPT, if someone's screaming at me, I could tape it and then feed it in and tell me what are the feelings and needs according to Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg that I could hear in this conversation. So I think it could also help with my own emotional intelligence growth.
There's a company, I think it's called Sanofi.
A pharmaceutical company out of France?
Exactly, yeah. So they're basically a research and development driven AI-powered biopharma company. And I think they've got 23,000 employees. And what they're trying to do is to normalize experimentation with AI, and even sometimes partnering with competitors. So they've really embraced AI, and I guess they use it for R&D, for sustainability, and beyond. I think that's something else that leaders need to really normalize, this idea of experimentation across the team.
Which I think speaks to both your point about having a goal in mind, but also to not having a goal in mind. If you come across a new instrument, and you just think, oh, I want a loud sound, you'll beat on it like a drum, even though maybe it's a bass violin and you could start to pluck it. So I think we want a balance of experimentation without goal, just to play. And then as soon as we understand it, to begin to direct it towards outcomes that are important.
My suggestion to leaders who are just getting into AI is to build an AI stack dashboard. So maybe pick 3 AI tools per quarter, and you could test one for writing, one for data analysis, and maybe one for thinking. And then what you could do is review those on an ongoing basis, maybe even monthly, and just ask yourself, do these tools save me time? Do they amplify my insight? Do they help my team to make better decisions? And again, assign ownership. You don't have to test these things alone. You could empower other team members to work on different AIs as well and to report back to you.
I love it. Anything else before we close today?
I will just share something with you, and this is going to be available in the downloads. Based on Jeff Wood's CRIT format, I went ahead and created some prompts in some different areas. So here, for example, strategic planning and growth exploration. Here you can see the context. You're preparing a strategic offsite for your leadership team. The business is stable, but growth has slowed. Competition is rising, and customer acquisition costs are up. The goal is to uncover blind spots and explore bold growth paths. So there's your context, very specific. And here, instead of just saying, do this for me, say act as a strategic advisor with expertise in scenario planning, disruption strategy, and executive facilitation. And then the sweet spot is 3 to 5 interview questions. So you can ask the AI to interview you, for example, about under-leveraged capabilities or customer segments, shifting market trends, etc. And then you can move to the task level where you propose 3 distinct growth scenarios, and here each including key assumptions, external triggers, risks or failure points, strategic questions to explore at the offsite. And then don't forget the constraints. And that's the big problem with AI. It's like, be careful what you wish for, because you might get volumes of useless information. I think they call it scope creep, right? Where you just slowly move away from the original target. So here, no industry assumptions unless specified. Keep each scenario concise, 4 to 6 bullet points, and flag any speculative assumptions. So that's just one example of how you can be super specific about what it is you're looking for. So I've created this document. I think I've got 8 or 9 CRIT-based prompts that people can use.
Wow. I'm greedily looking forward to trying them myself. All right, let's wrap this up and bring it home.
So if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share the Fluent Edge with friends or colleagues who are working on their English or leadership communication. And if you're looking for support beyond the podcast, we've each opened up spots for one-on-one coaching. And Howie works with professionals and leaders who want to avoid burnout, lead with purpose, and shift their mindset for sustainable success. You can book a free discovery call using the link in the description.
And if you're working on your English clarity, global presence, or confident communication, book a free discovery call with Sean to explore how the two of you can sharpen your voice and impact together. So subscribe, share, and check the description for your downloads and tools. And thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Keep thinking clearly, communicating boldly, and leading with your voice.
Stay sharp, stay human, and stay fluent.